I'm here with Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Alexander, we have the transcript of U.S. Ambassador Wiliam Taylor, and that deals with the Ukraine impeachment hoax. And Alexander, let's just get right into it. He is the smoking gun. He is Adam Schiff's star witness. I would say him and Vindman appear to be the two star witnesses.
Yeah.
We've talked at length about Vindman. Let's dig into Taylor here. So, Alexander, I am going to read you via RT because I think they crystallize what is the smoking gun testimony out of Taylor's transcript. And let me read it to you, and I'll give you my take, and then you can expand on it. In the course of his October 22 deposition made public on Wednesday, Taylor explains it was his, quote, clear understanding, quote, that, quote, security assistance money would not come until Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky committed to pursue the investigation of natural gas firm Burisma Holdings, where Democratic presidential frontrunner Joe Biden's son was a director. That understanding, however, came from being told by Trump advisor Tim Morrison that another ambassador, U.S. envoy to the EU Gordon Sondland, had informed a Zelensky aide of the condition. Okay, Alexander, here's the equivalent. This is not even hearsay. Here's the equivalent. I heard from a friend that has another friend that told a friend of his that has a friend that said, Alexander, you're a bad dude.
Well,
that's the equivalent.
You've crystallized it, and can I say, RT has done a good job, in my opinion, summarizing this transcript. Now, I have repeatedly said that these people who are being called as witnesses, or supposed witnesses, Vindman, McKinley, Jovanovic, and now Taylor, are not really witnesses at all, because they didn't witness actually anything. The only person who got sort of close to what actually happened was Vindman, who did at least listen in to the Trump-Zelensky telephone call, which is the subject of all this huge controversy. But of
sort
course,
of close.
We've sort of close because we've actually got the transcript of that call, so we don't actually need Vindman to tell us what was said during it. He's proposed some. He proposed some editing of the transcript, but as I've explained in previous videos, his proposed edits are completely inconsequential. Now, when it comes to Taylor, I mean, he clearly is not a witness because, as you absolutely rightly said, he heard and saw nothing. He's not involved in anything. He never discussed any of these issues with Donald Trump himself. What he is reproducing here is gossip which he has heard from other people. As you rightly said, I heard that so-and-so said that Donald Trump said this to so. I mean, it's just so remote from the actual substance of what happened that, I mean, it's impossible to see how, certainly in any legal process, and I know people are going to tell me impeachment is not a legal process, but it's supposed to follow certain basic legal principles, how in any legal or quasi-legal process, this so-called evidence could be taken seriously. Now, he also claims, of course, that he's got all these text messages and that he took notes. Well, of course, the notes he would have taken are purely of the gossip he heard. So, I mean, it's not actually evidence because, as I said, they're not contemporaneous records of actual discussions. And the text messages, as far as I can tell, seem to be the messages that passed between him and Sondland that we've already seen and which are already out there in the public domain. So, I mean, I really cannot see what what actual evidence he is bringing forward to this discussion. But as you rightly say, the media is representing him as, providing the smoking gun. And it will surprise absolutely nobody that having rehearsed this witness, or so-called witness, in a secret hearing, Adam Schiff now apparently is proposing to bring him back in an open hearing, where he will presumably say all the same things all over again. So it's clear what's happening. These witnesses have been rehearsed, and now they're going to be giving their evidence, having been rehearsed, a second time.
So Taylor heard bad things about someone. He heard this. Here, Trump is doing bad things. Four people removed. Four people removed.
Yes. Yes. I mean, to me, as I said, it has no, as lawyers say, probative value whatsoever. As you rightly said, it's certainly not. It's not even hearsay. It's gossip. Gossip.
I wouldn't even define it as gossip at this. He's so far removed from the whole conversation.
Yes. Well, it's malicious gossip.
Malicious gossip, exactly. There you go. That's the right word. Malicious gossip.
Gossip. What clearly happened is that some people who are, fanatics in supporting the Ukraine in its conflict with Russia, people like Taylor and people like Vindman, and I've no doubt, by the way, that Vindman and Taylor were talking to each other. People like that were obviously extremely angry because there was this pause in providing military assistance, this military deal to Ukraine. It's only a pause, mind you. So they're looking for a reason for that, and they're latching on to all these theories and speculations about some kind of sinister quid pro quo, and they're constructing evidence to bear out those reasons that they themselves have come up with. And that's gossip. That's malicious gossip. They're maliciously spreading stories about the President of the United States with whom none of these people had any direct.
Absolutely. Alexander, let me read you an excerpt between Ratcliffe and Taylor, and I'm taking this from the Gateway Pundit. Let me read it to you. The exchange between Bill Taylor and Congressman John Ratcliffe totally destroyed the quid pro quo narrative. Quote, "It sounds like from your statement that you were aware of the military hold and troubled by it, but that President Zelensky was not aware of it at that point in time," Ratcliffe said to Bill Taylor. "That is correct," Taylor responded. Ratcliffe continued, "So if nobody in the Ukrainian government is aware of the military hold at the time of the Trump-Zelensky call, then as a matter of law and as a matter of fact, there can be no quid pro quo based on military aid. I just want to be real clear that, again, as of July 25th, you have no knowledge of a quid pro quo involving military aid." Representative Ratcliffe again asked Bill Taylor, "And to your knowledge, nobody in the Ukrainian government was aware of that hold?" Ambassador Taylor replied, "That is correct."
Well, there you go. I mean, what is the point of using the withholding of military aid to try to compel or pressure Ukraine into doing something if you don't actually tell Ukraine that you are withholding the military aid? I mean, it's so obvious that I don't even know where I don't even know why we are talking about this. And of course, the what makes this even more ridiculous. In fact, there's two things which make it ridiculous. Firstly, the military aid was provided in spite of the fact that the Ukrainians publicly committed themselves to doing absolutely nothing. But even more remarkable, this is all supposed to be about reopening an investigation into Burisma Holdings, which the Ukrainians had themselves announced that they had reopened back in May, long before any of these discussions had happened, long before this military aid was paused. So it's just stupid. You're dumber than Russiagate. You're absolutely right. I mean, Russiagate was at least a very convoluted and crazy thing. As I said, we always said in our videos, this is a hoax. There is lots of smoke here in Russiagate. There's no actual fire. This is even more bizarre because, there's no fire. There's not even any smoke. I mean, what is there here? I mean, I really don't understand this whole issue. I should say, I don't think many people are aware of the fact that the Ukrainians had already announced, the Procurator General of Ukraine, a man called Yuri Lutsenko, who was still working at that time for the former Ukrainian president, Petro Poroshenko, announced back in May, before Zelensky took office, long before Zelensky spoke to Trump, long before the military aid was paused, back in May, that the Ukrainians were reopening the investigation into Burisma Holdings. So what are we even talking about? I simply can't see. And now we're going to have Bill Taylor coming along, giving public testimony, spreading again his gossip.
And it wasn't even military aid, Alexander. From what I understand, at least the Javelin missiles part was actually a purchase.
Exactly.
I mean, it was a sale of weapons. It wasn't even military aid to begin with, of which Obama didn't want to give it, and Trump actually did.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. It is a sale. It is a sale of weapons, which Ukraine is buying, though of course it is a bankrupt country and is supposedly trying at the moment under President Zelensky to negotiate some kind of peace agreement with Russia. I mean, as we're doing this video, I've been reading on Interfax and Itar-TASS, the various Russian news agencies, and Interfax Ukraine about the various discussions that are going on between the Ukrainians and the Russians about agreeing a withdrawal of forces, a mutual withdrawal of forces between the East Ukrainian militia and the Ukrainian army along the contact line. Now, it makes total sense in that context, given that the new president's intentions were not clear, that there was a pause about going ahead with the sale until that president, the new president, made his intentions clear. And I suspect that's all there was.
Perhaps they should spend less time, Congress should spend less time with this ridiculous, farcical, just absolutely absurd impeachment hoax with Ukraine, and help Zelensky, stand by Zelensky so he can work out some sort of peace with East Ukraine. They can be done with this conflict, and the U.S. can begin to work with Russia and Ukraine and start stabilizing the situation there. The bigger problem for the U.S., their biggest geopolitical foe, is China, and they need to get over this Russia-Ukraine thing once and for all. I mean, it's crystal clear.
Well,
this is beyond dumb, Alexander. It's beyond dumb.
Yeah. Well, you put your finger on it. First, a few things to say. The Democrats are not really interested in what you've just said, because they're just using this as part of an agenda to get Trump. Now, I think that right at the start of all of this, back in August, Adam Schiff, who's clearly the ringmaster here, persuaded Pelosi that there was more to this than it's now clear is the case. I think Pelosi was led up the garden path by Schiff. That's my own view about this. And I think if Pelosi knew what we now know, she would never have authorized this impeachment. That's my guess. I'm sure many of our viewers won't agree. And I'm sure that, a lot of people, I'm not saying that because I think Pelosi likes Trump or has any sense of fairness. It's just that I think Pelosi's a shrewd politician and understands how completely empty this whole thing is. But anyway, that's one thing.
But she's stupid to have trusted Schiff. After seeing Schiff at the Mueller investigation, should have been a lot smarter. Beyond to have taken his word for anything.
She was beyond stupid to trust Schiff. That's absolutely right. But anyway, that's the Democrats. We have to face the fact that within the U.S. government, within the U.S. bureaucracy, there are people like Lieutenant Colonel Vindman who do not want to see peace between the United States and Russia. They do not want to see any kind of rapprochement between the United States and Russia. The fact that the United States faces an even bigger challenge from China is something they are simply not interested in, or it simply doesn't even register with them. They want to continue the confrontation with Russia in Ukraine, which they successfully initiated in 2014, just as they wanted to continue the confrontation with Russia in Syria, which is what a whole lot of people in the State Department were demanding in summer 2016 during the US presidential election, when many middle-ranking State Department officials went public about it. So that's the trouble. That's the problem. There is within the bureaucracy a whole set of people who are simply not prepared to see any kind of retreat by the US anywhere, whether in Syria, whether in Ukraine, whether anywhere else. From their point of view, the US always moves forward. And if the result is a growing alliance between China and Russia, which is a real danger to the US, that doesn't seem to register with them at all.
All right, Alexander, what is there anything else that we need to discuss on the Wiliam Taylor testimony? What's next in all of this?
I can't see anything, but I'm going to say something. One thing I will say, I think we've heard all the evidence now. I mean,
there's so many holes in this. I mean,
I know, but yeah, exactly. I don't see what other evidence there can be to support the impeachment. I mean, we've heard a lot from Ambassador Sondland, who it seems to me is a dithery, incompetent figure who's changing his story all the time. Two things to say about that. He's the man who, by the way, supposedly spoke with Trump. Two things to say about that. He is not corroborating what Taylor says. He doesn't say that Trump pushed him into some kind of quid pro quo. I was talking about some kind of quid pro quo for this arms sale and in return for an investigation of Burisma. He admits that that was only his assumption. That's what Sondland says. And of course, the fact that he changes his story all the time suggests to me that he's not a particularly reliable witness anyway. So Sondland is a weak witness to the extent that he is a witness. As I said, Vindman is clearly a fanatic and has nothing really to say. The only evidence he has is about the transcript, and we actually have the transcript, and there's no question, it seems to me, that the transcript is right. Yovanovitch has given no evidence. McKinley hasn't given any evidence. It all comes down to Taylor. Taylor isn't, as I said, ultimately a witness. He's just a purveyor of malicious gossip, and the so-called whistleblower, to give him his name, he wasn't a witness to anything, and he's not even testifying.
A purveyor of malicious gossip. That's exactly what Taylor is.
Yeah.
Well put. Alexander, you know, I've got a confession. I actually enjoyed Russiagate in a way, covering the story. At least there was some intrigue. You know, you had the spies in the UK. You know, you had Downer in Australia. You had, you know, this mysterious Professor Mifsud. You had the FISA documents, Comey and Rosenstein. I mean, there was a lot of moving pieces and a lot of things to kind of put together. And it was an interesting story to cover.
Yes.
I can't stand this story because it's beyond dumb. I mean, it really is stupid.
Yeah, I mean, you know, to quote Karl Marx, not something we often do on these programs. You know, history repeats itself. Sometimes as first time as tragedy, second time as farce. If Russiagate was the tragedy, which it was, by the way. I mean, Russiagate was a disaster for the American political system. This Ukraine-gate is a complete farce. It's. I mean, you used the right word. It's dumb.
It's just so low IQ. The whole thing is
exactly Russiagate. There was a kind of malevolent brilliance about it.
Right.
This is just stupid. It's just stupid.
We'll leave it there. It's incredible how dumb it is. It's incredible that grown-ups thought this up.
Yes. Absolutely agree.
All right. Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Thank you very much, guys. If you like this video, click on the subscribe button down below. Click on the notifications bell to make sure you get notifications when we publish a new video. Check us out on SoundCloud and on iTunes to get an audio copy of this video. And also donate to us on PayPal, Patreon, and Subscribestar. Your donation really helps us out a whole lot. And check us out on Telegram. Subscribe there. We put all kinds of videos, news, conversations. We're going to post all kinds of stuff on Telegram. So never miss a beat. Subscribe to our Telegram channel, the Duran.com. That's where you'll find us there. And of course, Duran Shop, where you can buy some magic mugs, which will maybe add to your intelligence, Alexander, after you get done, parsing through this ridiculous Ukraine Gate story and actually probably lower your IQ when you go through this Ukraine Gate stuff.
Well, indeed. I mean, I have to say, Alex, as I said, I've had to read miles and miles of testimony now, first in Russiagate, now Ukraine Gate. I mean, this is just beyond stupid what I'm having to trawl through now. I mean, I would give up hope, frankly, were it not that I am sustained when I'm doing that by drinking tea from these fantastic Duran mugs, which we have, these beautiful 15-ounce
show the Lavrov one. Move.
Yeah, there it is. This is the Lavrov one. This is the one I'm drinking from at the moment. I mean, this is a really clever man. This is a really serious man. He would not be a purveyor of malicious gossip like certain other diplomats we've been discussing. I mean, that would be inconceivable. And I have to say, I mean, this whole thing, as I said, without my Duran mug beside me, I wouldn't be able to cope with it. So buy yourself one of these mugs and you'll understand both Russiagate and certainly Ukraine Gate and all the other things we talk about a whole lot better. And of course, do so. Drink from it whilst you're wearing one of our terrific shirts, which is what I do all the time. I'm wearing this magnificent, wonderful, 100% cotton polo shirt, which is, as you can see, it's beautiful grey, and it's got the Duran double-headed eagle embroidered there. Beautiful shirt, and the epitome of smart casual, where we've got all kinds of other great shirts that you could also have. We've got T-shirts, we've got long-sleeve T-shirts, we've got V-neck shirts, we've also got hoodies, hats, stickers. We've got great things. Alex has been refreshing and improving our product line, and he keeps an eye on it all the time. So we're getting mugs with, all kinds of new mugs also. So what are you waiting for? Go to the Duran shop. Help the Duran, help yourself, be the proud owner of these great things. Alex will tell you how to do it.
Just go to theduranshop.com. You'll find the link in the description box down below. Alexander Mercouris, editor-in-chief of the Duran. Thank you very much. Until next time, everybody, take care.